Thank you for joining. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and today we have something very important that will, if it's not affecting you today, at some point in your life, it will affect you or a family member. And we're with Kim Praitano, who is the president and CEO of Gildas Club, South Florida. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we know that cancer affects a lot of people, a lot. Tell us some of the figures that you have in mind that you'd like to share.
So in the South Florida area, when we're talking about just Broward, Miami-Dade, Palm Beach County alone, we're talking about over 30,000 individuals a year will be diagnosed with cancer, and that's significant.
That's new cases.
New cases.
Right.
Plus, because of science and technology, we already have a significant number of people that are living with cancer, and we try and prolong that lifespan as much as possible.
Yes. So let's go over some of your history, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So I went to my favorite places to look this up. So I'm not going to bore people with the long stuff, but the short stuff here is you're the president and CEO of the Gildas Club of South Florida. You serve 5,000 people a year plus.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Tell people why the name Gildas Club South Florida.
So Gilda Radner was one of the original cast members of Saturday Night Live. She was the only woman on the show.
We remember that.
We remember that. She was very, very famous and popular immediately. She had so many funny characters. And shortly after she became famous, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And she wasn't diagnosed properly for 8 months. So early screening is really important to positive outcomes in cancer. And so being misdiagnosed at first, she lost that time. And she died very young. She died at 42 years old. But before she died, she realized that the medical diagnosis and the medical treatment was only part of having cancer. It was the emotional and psychological aspects, the financial toxicity that comes along with all of those bills. And she wanted a place for people to go where they wouldn't have to worry about those things, where they could get those other services for free.
And it's interesting because so often the emotional and then the intellectual part is sort of combined in there. But what I'm hearing you say is it sort of gets splits apart where somebody can handle the treatment, but the emotional aspect, oh my goodness, all right, here's what I got, here's what I'm going through, and here's what I need to go through. So you've spent about 40 years in the not-for-profit world.
Mm-hmm. My whole life.
So often when people are involved with not-for-profits, there was some moment in their lives they said, this is what I want to do. Can you share with us what that moment was?
Since I can remember, I remember being 5, 6 years old in the sandbox, knowing that I wanted to help other people. It's my nature, it's my personality. I want to leave this world knowing that I did something to make it better than what I found it.
It's wonderful. I was taking a personal growth seminar years ago. They have a 90-minute exercise, and one of the things they ask you for is what you want to do. Mm. So I wrote down help the hopeless and the hopeless and the helpless. It was such an awareness. And then recently, I've been involved in this my entire life. Recently, as we're able to communicate with more people faster and be able to help more people, we realize that about 45% of the shows we do are not-for-profits. Mm-hmm. Because we understand that we can help those people by helping these other people so that we can make this place a better place. Let's talk about you have your master's in social work and criminal justice, of course, all right? And let's talk about your sports that you like to be involved with.
So I practice and I teach Krav Maga at Krav Maga Worldwide in Fort Lauderdale.
Why don't you tell people what that is?
So Krav Maga is the Israeli self-defense system. And so everyone in Israel has to fight, whether you're young, old, male, female, whether you're strong or not so strong. You have to be able to have a technique and a system of defense that works for everyone, because everyone serves in Israel. And so Krav Maga is a self-defense system, and it incorporates a lot of things from all the different martial arts that you can think of. If it works, it's in Krav Maga. And so I love it. I went there. I don't know what I was thinking when I went there about how long I would stay, but I never left. I loved it. It builds confidence. It builds, it keeps me physically fit.
How long have you been doing this?
12 years. And I teach too.
Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
What's the age group of those students?
We're in South Florida, so the age group spans from young kids, although we don't have as many young students. We're just building our youth program now, but we have people into their 70s that train Krav Maga.
Well, thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
So let's talk about the services and the mission of Gilda's Place. Tell us.
So the medical component of cancer is about 20% of the clinical part is about 20% of the issues that affect positive outcomes in cancer and in most diseases. The other 80% is the psychosocial supports, the financial assistance, where you live, your employment, your education. Those are the things that Gilda's Club aims to address. And we do that by providing a community of support where you can come and get whatever services you need. You pick and choose based on what you need at the time. And there are other people that are there going through a similar journey to yours.
So what's it like for somebody that is living their life and everything was great, and maybe they have kids, maybe they don't, the marriage is good, they're working, maybe some advanced education, they go to the doctor for a checkup and they go, sorry to tell you, but here's the problem. Tell us what it's like for somebody when they wind up with you and you're like their first stop after getting a diagnosis.
Yeah. So for all of us, when we go to the doctor, we're all thinking everything's going to be fine. There's nothing wrong with me. Doctor's going to tell me that everything's okay and I'm going to walk out of here in 5 minutes. And when you walk in and that doesn't happen and you hear the word cancer, the world stops. And you start assessing, how long do I have to live? What about my family? If you have kids, what will happen to them? Am I going to be able to afford treatment? What is that going to cost? Am I going to lose my job? You start thinking all of these things.
Let's talk about with men, that have always been the hunters in the family and the provider, and the little woman stays at home and takes care of everything, but certainly more expressive, if you will, with their female friends. What's it like for a guy who's, like pounding his chest and he goes to you and he sits in front of you and he tells you what's going on? What's it like for them?
It's hard for men to be as expressive with their emotions. And I think what helps is the other men and the other people that are out Gilda's Club expressing themselves, going through the same thing or similar. I shouldn't say the same thing. Everyone's experience is a little different, but they're going through a similar journey. And that shared journey helps when you hear another man in front of you sharing in a support group. It makes it okay for you to share.
Years ago, I was doing a study on how many places men could go where there were prostate support groups. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I found any.
Gilda's Club.
All right. It was an extraordinary event. Mm-hmm. And then one hospital told me, okay, well, here's who's coming this week. We have the leader, an intern, and one guy. That was it. So that really, I think, goes to show, among a lot of things, where men, particularly for prostate cancer, have this problem in communicating. Let's talk about the spouses and the children, and then the siblings of those. What's it like for them, and what services you provide?
So first, we provide services for the family members, children, and they can receive all of the same services at Gilda's Club at no charge. For them, cancer affects the whole family. So when we're whispering and quiet around children, they're smart, they're intuitive, they know that something is wrong. They don't know the details, but they know that something is wrong, and their imagination tells them that it's something maybe even worse than reality.
What's your web address? Because we're going to put it up on the program.
It's www.gildasclubsouthflorida.org. Everything is spelled out.
So people can go there. They can.
They can
while we're
go there.
talking,
They can
see
see
all
all of our services. They can register. They can come in for a tour and see what we're like.
We have there's a doctor nearby. Her name is Dr. Tina Carroll Scott. She runs the South Miami Children's Center. She's a pediatrician. 17 years ago, she gave up her practice in Bell Harbor. Bell Harbor would be like, one of the ritziest places in Dade County, South Florida. She gave up that practice to come over here to help the kids that needed the most. So I would always refer to the kids, and she's, Michael, you don't understand. It's a family. Mm-hmm. She refers to them as their family, right? So when she's treating this child, she's actually, it's the whole unit. Mm-hmm. In this particular demographic, half the people were divorced, so it would typically come in with the mother and a couple of the other kids. So what's it like for them when the little kids come in with the mom and they're looking around and they start hearing this cancer conversation about survival and things like that? What is the impact on them and on you and your staff?
So we do a lot of things that are age appropriate, developmentally appropriate. For kids, we do the Family Fun series. So their parents can come and they can get support from other adults. But we may be having an event, like we have an event coming up in a couple of weeks. It's a mad science event. And so the kids will be interacting with each other with the science event. So for a couple of hours, they can immerse themselves in something and not have to think about cancer while their parents are getting support. And so we're not always talking about cancer. We're not always crying. It's not always sad. There's a lot of laughter at Gilda's Club.
So recently you expanded your facility. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we were in a small historic home in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and we just expanded our services, and the number of people that were coming to us far outweighed what we could provide in that building. And during the pandemic, we did a capital campaign, and we purchased a 15,000 square foot building, and we renovated it all through the pandemic. And our campaign is done. It's over. Our building is paid for, and we can do a lot more. The number of people who are getting cancer is growing, so we have to be ready to serve that community.
We have Dr. Michael Zinner, who runs the Miami Cancer Institute. So you know what the number one cause of cancer is? Age. Mm-hmm. And the older we get, the more we're starting to realize that. And then when you're younger, you don't think about it too much. What are some of the medical facilities or other services where you can send people to?
So we work with all of the oncology centers. We're lucky in South Florida. We have Baptist Miami Cancer Institute. We have University of Miami. We have Jackson. We have our Broward Hospitals, Memorial, Broward Health, Holy Cross, Cleveland Clinic. So we're very lucky. When you start getting into some of the states in our country, Montana, they have to drive 175 miles to get to a cancer center sometimes, depending on where they live.
So if somebody goes to you and they say, I need these other services, mm-hmm. you haven't, when you bring them in, you ask them what their living is like, and then yes. You can help them get help.
Yes, we can. So we have some grants that allow us to provide financial assistance, but we have a computer lab. If people need Medicaid, Medicare, depending on how sick they are, if they're not returning to work, they're going to have to apply for Medicare.
And you can help them with that.
Yeah, we can help them with that.
So frequently that's the worst time of their lives. And they're not really thinking the way they would normally think. So you can take them by the hand and guide them through this and assist them.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, I'm not feeling right. I go to my doctor and goes, sitting on the thing, and he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "What's wrong?" I said, "You know what? I just needed to take a pause. I just needed something." I said, "I'm already feeling better." He said, "Well, since you're here, let's go through this." But it was just, I needed to take a break. And so when somebody's feeling that and they've had cancer, they can go to and take a break and get some direction and have somebody that cares about them, that's not a burden on their family. But let's talk about what happens to the caregivers, the family unit. Let's talk about those dynamics.
It's hard. It's hard to be a caregiver. As you watch your loved one get sicker and sicker, you want to do everything that you can to help them. It's almost a feeling of wanting to save them, to keep them alive, and they really take on a burden. And it's important. When they come to us, we're happy because they can attend our educational workshops, they can attend our healthy living classes and get some stress relief for themselves. They can also go to support groups and hear from other people and hear that, one, that it's normal, and two, that we don't have that much control to save another human being, unless we're a doctor or,
Yes.
We have some kind of expertise. We don't have control over that.
So you mentioned about 20 to 25% is the medical part. The rest is all that other stuff that in itself can be just so totally overbearing on families, especially if the getting the service or paying for it is of concern.
And that's why we don't charge for our services. We raise money in other ways. We have events, we apply to private foundations, we get major gifts, we have corporate partnerships so that people don't have to worry about the cost. When Gilda Radner and her then husband, Gene Wilder, started the first Gildas Club, the first thing they said was, this costs a fortune, and they had money, but they knew that the rest of the world probably couldn't afford what they could afford. And they were adamant about not charging for services.
In the name, when it says South Florida, that implies there's there are more of these.
There are.
Tell us about that.
There are. So we're part of the cancer support community. There are other Gildas clubs and cancer support communities throughout the country and in other countries. We work very closely with our partners in Canada. And so we work together as a network of providers. If someone comes to me, and very likely in South Florida, people come and go back and forth to the Northeast a lot here. When they're in the Northeast, they can go and visit our Gildas clubs that are in the Northeast, in New York, in Massachusetts.
So when a client goes to you, within your system, and then also in other areas, they can find a support system. So if they needed some help in this arena, they know where to go, and you can direct them.
And we'll help them with that, yes.
That's extraordinary. Tell us about something that's really unique that you do and the services you provide.
I think the most unique thing that we do is provide a community of support and hope. That's not something that's usual. You go into places and you can receive a service, whether that's at a hospital or a nonprofit, but building a community of support, you said it before, where everyone is family, that's not usual. And we need to know that there's a place we can go. Even family members don't always understand what the cancer patient is going through. So they need to be able to go to a place where others understand. The caregivers need the same thing. The children need the same thing. And that's what we provide that is so unique. We break down barriers to care. We look at, okay, what are your barriers? Why aren't you going for your treatment? Maybe transportation, it may be housing, it may be they don't have enough money and they're deciding, do I want to pay for medication or do I want to buy food?
Do you hear often where somebody says, I'm not going to go to the treatment because I've heard the side effects are X? Do people tell you that?
Sometimes people want to go for different treatments. They want to go for holistic approaches, and that's not for us to decide. That's for someone to decide with their treatment providers. we try to provide all of the information to empower people. We have the best oncology specialists from our South Florida oncology centers that people can listen to, and they can make their own decisions of what options are best for them. We want people to get the best health outcomes.
So lots of times when there are friends of the one that has the cancer, they don't know what to say. When they call them up, say, by the way, this has happened to me. So what are some of the responses that you hear, and what's it's not a perfect thing, but it's something that you could say when somebody says, listen, this is what's happened?
Here's what I hear a lot. When someone has cancer, their friends come up to them and they say, how are you? Really, how are you? And they want to know more about the cancer and what's going on for them emotionally. And I think people who have cancer, that's not the only thing about them. Cancer is not what defines them as a person. There's other things going on for them. And they'll talk about what's important to them, what they want to talk about. And so that friendship that existed before, it still exists now, and they want people to remember that.
When my mother was sick decades ago, people, my friends or her friends, how's your mother? I said, if one more person asks me that, I'm going to strangle them, because it's just like, there's more to it than that, as you're pointing out. So it's a very sensitive thing, and just be there.
Yeah.
I guess if they want to talk about it, they will.
Right.
And so let's talk about the future, what it looks like for you and for the organization. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so before you said that cancer is very correlated to age. And so when we look at the future and we look at the lifespan and our aging population in South Florida, we're preparing, we're in a growth mode. We're preparing for more and more people to come to us. We're expanding the most, and we want to expand even more in Miami. We're always searching for funding in Miami. And a lot of people are hurting. A lot of organizations are losing funding, but that's the area that we struggle with right now. There's a great need and not a lot of resources.
So as medicine gets better, some of the other diseases that used to kill us, all right, get solved or managed, and then all of a sudden that little cancer cell is like there, floating around. You go, oops, right? And we see that if you look at the ages. And so let's go over again the free services that you offer. What are some of those services?
So we provide 30 different support groups on a monthly basis. We have cancer educational workshops and symposiums and conferences. We provide healthy living classes like yoga, Tai Chi, functional fitness.
You do the yoga classes?
So I do yoga classes, not at Gilda's Club because I'm working at Gilda's Club. But I do yoga. It's gentle on the body. And it's one of the things that cancer patients can do. They might not be able to do Krav Maga. There's a lot of physical contact in Krav Maga, but they can do yoga and Tai Chi and functional fitness. We also provide social events, and the social events are important. We talk a lot about social isolation, especially post-COVID. And breaking down that social isolation is important. If you live alone and you have cancer, your life has changed. You're not going out necessarily and doing the things that you used to do, especially if you're going through treatment. But you can come for a community dinner at Gilda's Club. You can come to one of our family and fun series events. You can come to any of our social activities and still enjoy yourself and not have to worry about paying for it.
When somebody goes to you, you're not giving them medical advice.
No.
They have their own doctor. If they want somebody else, you can say, here's a list of all these hospitals that have cancer treatment that are there. So you're dealing with that other 75% of this human being.
Yes.
Rather than just making this 25% making that whole thing. And I think a lot of people understand that. Years ago, somebody introduced me. as this is the publisher of whatever paper. And I was just in an honorary mood. And I said, I do more than that. I remember I was like pissed off. And I said, wow. I was like surprised that I did that because that was just this little tiny part. That was just the persona that they knew me by. Right. And so people have lots of interests. So let's talk about when somebody gets cancer, a lot of their interests sort of fade away. How can you encourage them to express that? And then if they have a desire to go back and try it again.
So we have a lot of healthy living courses and classes at Gildas Club. And when you ask that question, the first two things that come to mind are art and music therapy. We have several different art classes and we have music therapy. And I see people we have a gentleman that comes to us that plays the guitar, and I see him the happiest when he's in music therapy. And in art, we have several art classes, people who used to do different things with art years ago, and now they're expressing themselves through art. It's amazing to see the looks on their face and their product when they're done. Not everyone can go and express themselves verbally in a support group, but they can through music and art.
It's interesting because when you look at artists or a writer or a creator of a building, it's all very creative work, and the minds work a certain way, and especially with music where it affects the brain specifically. And so I'm glad that you're doing that because you're saving a lot of folks. We have a few minutes left, and what I'd like you to do is I want you to think about some people that have helped you along your journey. They may still be with us, or maybe they're not. And if you would look into that camera and talk to them.
When I was in 7th grade, I had a teacher. His name was Joseph Simplicio. I haven't seen him since 7th grade. I don't know if he's still alive, but every year he would teach us about the Constitution for 6 weeks. That's all we did. But he also taught us that the most important thing in our lives as we became adults was to get involved. And I hope he knows that because of him, I've always gotten involved in the world. And I still think that getting involved in making the world a better place is really important. The other person who was a mentor, so to speak, was my dad. My dad died young, and he only went to the 8th grade, but he was the smartest person I know. And I say that he was self-taught. He was smart because he taught me values, and that's what was important to him. It's led me through everything that I've done in my life. You can't ever take those values away from a person, and it's something that not everyone gets in life. I have that. The other person that I would say has helped me significantly in my life is my teacher at Krav Maga. I never realized what I would learn through Krav Maga about myself, about other people, and about helping people to be able to practice self-defense and have confidence in themselves. So I thank all of those people. I'm grateful for all of the people that helped me along the way. It wasn't necessarily skills that they taught me. It was character.
Wonderful. Kim, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Again,
having me.
folks, where we were over here, you go to the Gildas Club of South Florida, you go on the website and they can find out everything about you and about the organization. And I took a look at the website earlier. Congratulations on providing great service to the people of South Florida.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
And again, where are we looking? We're looking right there. Again, thank you for joining us. Remember, give somebody in your family a big hug and kiss today. Again, have a great day. Bye now.